So I had an interesting little chat with ChatGPT, and what I came away from it was that I personally have always been confused because society does not endorse morality at all. Um, I kind of brushed on this topic with my last video about shame and blame and how you really shouldn't have shame or blame or anything for your doing because there are much worse than you being rewarded. And so in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about the structure of society and how it gets very confusing. And it still gets difficult to act on it, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Society does not value morality. Society has laws that stop you from somewhat doing immoral things. Um, Ironically, also, there's plenty of laws that allow you to do immoral things. Uh, it is frustrating to me. It's always been frustrating to me watching people who make degeneracy, who don't improve, who don't work very hard or impact society in any positive way, and they get rewarded for it, right? Bread and circuses are way more valuable than morals in any country, you know. I don't. I've never lived in other countries per se, and sure, on an individualistic level, you can meet individual people, and they might, relatively speaking, be moral. But as a whole, I don't know of any country that actually actively encourages morality past the point of violent force. You're not given any incentives for it. I mean, we could go through plenty of examples. I'm sure I could find plenty of examples. I'm thinking of a few, some of which I won't directly mention, but we all know about Jeremy Meeks, who nearly killed a kid. And, a couple of years in prison, now he's out, now he's a model, and now he's making millions and millions of dollars. I don't like living in a world where you can nearly kill a child. I think the child was like 16 years old or something, but I don't really care what age the person was. I don't think we should live. I don't want to live in a society where you can nearly murder someone or do anything of that sort of nature and come away from it at some point in your life and be better off than someone who doesn't do those things. I don't like living in a country that does that. It makes no sense to me. It's like it's like should I go to like prison to go be in the headlines to presumably try to get my face on a nice mugshot, and that way all the studios and everything want to start filming me and modeling me and shit so I can make millions of dollars. Should I draw big old titties and pussies and assholes on Patreon to make a lot of money instead of actually like doing something useful for society? I mean, it's just crazy to me how I get it. I get what it is. I mean, what it is that throughout human history, societies have always paid more attention to bread and circuses than to actual sustenance and actual meaning and actual purpose. Because crazy people are probably the worst thing for society, I suppose. But yeah, man, I don't have a script for this video, so bear with me. I find it so tough, and I think the reason a lot of men have a problem living in current society is that the lack of meaning, and not only that, but meaning isn't encouraged, meaning isn't valued. Meaning doesn't get you anything. You're not rewarded for it. Past the point of some kind of inner fulfillment, right? But inner fulfillment is a luxury in the face of starvation. I've done plenty of things. I've done plenty of business ideas, and I'm still working on a bunch of stuff. I'm over here trying to come up with things that better people's lives, ultimately, in one form or another, right? And I've always held to this thought since probably in my early 20s, where I'm like, if I just like wrote pornography or drew pornography, like I would make way more money. I would make way more money. And I find that frustrating because I don't want to do those things. But I have to admit, it's very true. It's very true. It is more profitable. You will have a better quality of life. You will succeed more being an absolute utter degenerate, having absolutely no moral boundaries, than the opposite. It is just crazy to me that that every society I know of in existence is okay with that. You know, I just I don't have much of a. There's not really a solution to this. People always value comfort more than anything else. Morality is a luxury. At the end of the day, if you're starving, you'll eat anyone. That is the reality, and it seems governments understand that more than anyone, and that's why they do what they do, and that's why it is what it is. But I find it funny how we're fed all this bullshit about improvement, about doing the work, about making yourself more valuable, and it's like the most valueless people make more money than me. I'm not gonna go into any more names. I already mentioned Jeremy Meeks, but you could think of like any popular YouTuber. You could think of any number of criminals who have gotten rich out of being out of jail at this point. You could name any number of women making pornography, any number of animators on Patreon or anything making pornography, any of that shit. All of them will make more money and have a better quality of life than I ever will. Because I am too goddamn stubborn to my morals. I remember I was in some kind of chat. I think it was Discord. It was so long ago. I don't remember any of the guys' names. I was in a chat with them, voice chat, I think. And they were telling me, like, they were basically telling me stop having morals and, like, don't have that stuff if you want to actually get money. And they were right. That's why that's stuck in my head. But I'm too goddamn stubborn. And I'm not trying to say, like, I'm sinless or anything. Trust me. I have my own degeneracies that I engage in. But I don't put that out into the world. I think that's the difference between me and all the people I'm criticizing. So, anyway. Don't want this to go on too long. I don't have a script for this. So, hope you enjoyed, boys.